Hello, this is All Rats with Team 4545 League analyzing the game between Pawn Pusher 3 and Brian Wood. This game was played in team event number 53 in round 1 of the under 1600 section. Let's have a look. Actually, this is a pretty interesting game. There's plenty of room for improvement on both sides. It's one of those games that I like to talk about that you can just spend hours tearing it apart, but unfortunately I only have 15 minutes. Okay, so French defense, and Pawn Pusher plays a line that I recommend against this, and that's the Alekhine-Chatard attack. If you're not familiar with this, the basic idea is here is that white's willing to gambit a pawn for an open file and potential attack. And 40 years ago, when I was new to chess and barely getting rated, I remember playing a 1700, and I played this, and he'd never seen it before, and he walked right into it. Oh, good, a pawn. And this is just the line. I've shown this before in some other videos, and I put the knight on f3. You go to h3 with the knight, and queen e7, and I actually got this exact position against that 1700. And what you're hoping for is that black castles, and then white has a winning attack. Of course, black didn't castle, but he played c5, and I think that's wrong because knight d5. And anyway, make a long story short, you're lucky if someone's going to fall into this, because most people actually know, if they play the French defense, they've seen this, they've prepared for it, so they don't accept the pro-offered pawn. And I'm not exactly familiar with theory right at the moment without looking it up. That's not important. I do know I had a game very similar to this, so back somewhere between 1989 and 94. I kind of know where to look, and it seemed to reach a very similar position to what this does, because I remember my queen bearing down on his king side like this, threatening a mate, and then having to go to h6 because black's got to stop the mate. Okay, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but I know that I had a sustained attack here, and it's now black to play, and he comes up with f5. Now, Pawn Pusher explained to me after the game that if he'd played knight f3, he would have been fine. The move he played just ends up leading to a number of exchanges, and as I say, this is a game that one can spend hours on just trying to tear apart without going into any analysis on knight f3. That's your guys' job when you study the game and play it over. Let's just try to dissect this logically and see why knight f3 would be more powerful than taking en passant, which is what Pawn Pusher played. Okay, let's just discuss knight f3 for a moment. What does it do? Well, first off, it develops a piece. Okay, now we know black's not going to take on g5, but maybe white might want to take on e7 so the knight can get to g5, right? Okay, that's one thing it does. It also helps prepare h5. Now g5 is guarded. So if black, say, just burns a move, I'm just going to play a bad move over here. Now white's ready to play h5, and then bishop takes g5 and knight takes g5. So as I say in my initial program that I offer free for improving your chess, if you don't know book, in light of anything else, a developing move is always a good choice. So and then here's just logical continuations that come from when you have a position developed. So right off the top of your head, you can see that knight f3 is a good move. Okay, now let's look at what's wrong with taking en passant. Okay, first off, we have control of f6. Okay, black can't put a piece there ever, unless he gets rid of the pawn on e5, and the only way he's going to get rid of the pawn on e5 is if somehow he can take on d4 and then weaken e5. But it's going to take him a while to do that. And meanwhile, white has got resources. He's ready to play h5 and then develop the knight, which will come and throw everything he has against the black king. Now f6, since it's off limits for black, if he has that square, it's a place he can put a piece, and a piece can then get into play a little further from that square. So why give a square back to black if you don't have to, unless you see a great continuation? Okay, so to make a long story short, he took here. Now black has some pressure on d4. It's attacking it twice, and if white takes it on c5, he might end up with tripled pawns. We don't, well, not just yet, but eventually. Well, yeah, because it's with check. But anyway, I'm just trying to make a point here, and the point is that what is white analyzing here? Well, so when white was played e takes f6, he has to have a candidate move in reply for all the possible black recaptures on f6. So let's see. Here's what he played, and he traded. Now, what he's doing is he's doing one of the rules that I talk about. If you're going to trade pieces so that black, trade pieces so that you get your pieces developed. Well, that's exactly what black is doing. Black is following the principle, and white's just playing right into it. This just helps improve the position of one of black's pieces. He can play knight takes f6, and his knight's on a better square, or he can play queen takes f6 with threats on f2. So basically, when white took en passant, he should have visualized this position and then shown us what he could do. Now we've got to take care of f2, right? If we castle queenside, look what black can do. Aside from having to analyze taking on d4, black also has the reply queen f4 check, exchanging queens. And white just willfully played into a line that exchanges queens. So he's got plenty of time on the clock, and it's time to get the candidate moves rolling and see what you can come up with, and make a decision when you look at the branches of the tree of analysis, which variation gives you the best return. And so it's everyone's responsibility as chess players to follow this strategy, to come up with the best move so that you can get the best position. And if you get a great position, it's going to turn in your favor more often than not. If you don't play the best move, you keep your opponent hanging around, and if he's a better player than you, eventually, well, he's gonna end up beating you. This is so evident in all the games I've shown that you can't keep a big gun down unless you keep him down. Okay, so what's white do here? He plays knight f3, and where do I have leg, or is it not moving? I have leg. Oh, I hate this. Okay, well, there goes one. Now, first black decides that he'll kick the bishop back. Doesn't want it bearing down on his king side. And I guess I have leg again. Okay, well, we're waiting for that. I think the move is queen f4, so which basically forces a queen, almost forces a queen exchange. Well, if white has knight g5. Yeah, see, look at this terrible leg. Okay, now, what about knight g5? That's the only way to avoid a queen exchange. What does black do about that? What does knight g5 do? Okay, well, he can take on f2 with check, right? And then he can play knight f6 and at some point and be safe. Still, it's a little risky, but maybe white has some attacking potential in there. The players will have to tell us more about that. But it's certainly something that white needs to consider. So instead, white goes into a queen exchange, and everything that he built up after 9 moves is now gone. Okay, so we basically got a relatively level position, but white's ahead in development. Look at the black queen side. It's all sitting there at home. Okay, black has a bad bishop in relation to his pawns. 6 of the 7 pawns are on the same color of the bishop. White's looking good. His bishop's pretty strong. A couple of the fixed pawns right now are on the opposite color of the bishop, and so white's does have an advantage here, but maybe he could have had a checkmate or something, a good attack that win more material. So h5, is it an impulsive move? I'm going to say yes, and the reason I'm going to say yes is because white's not completely developed yet. There's no need to play h5 yet. Okay, let's just castle instead. Okay, let's talk about castling. Okay, by castling, you've connected the rooks, and you're overprotecting d4, and now you can start thinking then you can start thinking about your attack because all your pieces are ready to come into play behind it. Okay, now the position could still transpose, but what's black going to do here? He's got to develop something. He could play knight c6. Okay, then white's not in a hurry. He could play g3, chase the rook back a little bit, get the rook off the pawn so that frees the other rook. Then consider playing h5. Okay, so that's just food for thought for white to consider when he goes over the game. Now I've hit the revert button to go back, and it's not backing up because I have horrible lag. Don't do this to me. Okay, maybe I'm in the right position. Okay, yeah, I got lag. Oh man. Right when I want to make a video, I get lag. There it goes. Okay, so we didn't castle. Now, he played h5, yeah, and then, oh, look at this, just terrible lag. Okay, now black has a threat. He is threatening on d4, so white needs to deal with that. And it castled, so the position kind of transposed, but white didn't have g3 in, which I think he does play here in a minute or two. If the lag will stop, I'll find out. Okay, knight f8, overprotecting h7. Okay, now really there was no rush to do that yet, but it's okay. But what it's doing now is it's putting the black knight on a better square, because the black knight's going to retake here, I believe. If this lag will go away, well, I'm going to probably have to go longer than 15 minutes on this video because my lag won't go away, or I'll start over. Okay, come on, just take it. Take there, thank you. Okay. Now g3. Okay, so really white's just improving the position of the black pieces. You know, just a moment ago, black was all undeveloped. The knight on g6 was, where was it? It was on d7. The other knight was on c6. And white hasn't really gained a lot. He's just opened up a file. He's got his rooks connected. So black's hanging on. Black's okay. Now we're protecting f2 and get ready to double. That's all right. But now black's just about caught up in development. And now come on, lag, go away. All right. All right, so we're waiting for the lag to catch up. What else can we say here? White's still got a decent ending. He's got a few more pawns on dark squares, so we're looking for a bishop ending if we can get one. We want to think about that. Bishop versus knight ending. Knight versus bishop ending. There's so many nice choices here. Man, I just pushed it again. There. Now I'll probably play another move. Okay, now here white just starts making mistakes, and so does black. It's kind of a comedy of errors. What black has now is a threat on f3, winning 2 pieces for the rook. And it sat there for like 2 or 3 moves, and black never did it, and white allowed it. Black's got to do that. But he didn't. Okay, so we're waiting for lag to catch up. All I can say is that this thing sat there, and if black does that, black suddenly got the better of the game. And that's kind of sad that white has allowed this after having such promising play. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to stop pushing this button now as soon as it stops. Okay, now I don't quite understand that. Like I said, he could be taking that knight on f3, but he never does. And he still doesn't take it. And then this happens. And there it sat for several moves. Now here white makes yet another mistake. And it's twofold. Number one, okay, what he plays is knight e5, and that gives the black knight a chance to trade itself off. Now, if you look at that knight, where's its scope? Okay, forward speaking, those are the squares. I circled them. Can he move to any of those? No, he can't. Okay, he can't move to any of them. That knight is kind of useless right now. We've got to, if black wants to utilize it, he's going to have to get it to a better square. Well, where's a better square? Well, e4 is a good square. How's it going to get there? Okay, let's figure it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're 4 moves away from there. That's a long ways, and white's going to have plenty of chances to do things while black shuffles around to achieve that, okay? Where else is it going to go? I don't know. But it's going to take a while for that knight to be into play. And let me show you what white should have done, and it'll become apparent when we see what actually happened. Okay, what white should have done here is played knight f1. Now you say, well, you're giving up this pawn, but there's a big difference, and you'll see in a moment. Okay, now we take here. Now, if black takes the bishop, white takes the bishop. And there's one major difference in this position, which will be apparent in a moment. Now, white's much better off here. Black can't really defend d5 very well here, if at all. And white should be able to hold on to the pawn on g3. But the key difference in the white position here is that knight on c1. And you'll see why when I show you what black missed. Okay, so knight e5, I said that's a mistake. It gets rid of an inactive black piece. And then black takes the rook. And then now we reach a position similar to what I just showed. The difference is the knights are off the board, and the white pawn on d4 is now on e5. Okay, so now what black missed a great move here. Black has full equality with rook c8. What's white going to do? I think he has to give a draw here. If white plays rook takes d5, black just comes down here and check. Now, if you play king d1, black's doing fine here. He shouldn't lose this. Rook takes a2. And then white's other choice is just to allow a perpetual check. So black's got doubled rooks on the 7th rank, and white's rooks are not all that active, at least to support the pawns, because the only way white can win this is with his pawns, and he's going to lose the pawn on a2. So black just missed a draw. Okay, so what black does is, black's playing quick too. That's his fault. He takes on e5. That was not necessary. That pawn wasn't going anywhere. Now he's deactivated his rook and just allowed white a chance to do things. Now white's up a pawn. Now I'm not entirely convinced that this game isn't a draw. The reason is, well, let me rephrase that. I believe the game probably is a draw from a complete technical aspect. However, practicality says it's not a draw because we're looking at obviously non-grandmasters playing this game. Yeah, I hope they become grandmasters, both of them, but at the moment they're not there yet. A lot of rook endgames, a pawn down, are drawn, and especially this type of position where white has no connected pawns, and I'm going to get to something in just a few moves. But black still has some chances to draw this, and I'm not going to try to sit down and figure out how and why. Why spend 5 hours proving black can draw? That's something to study on your own, so you can figure out when you get a position like this, how do I save the draw? Okay? Me showing you isn't going to teach you. You got to sit down and figure this out. You understand how that works? This is why I don't show everything. I just give you ideas and kind of point you in the right way. Okay. So black just follows a plan. Let's take pawns, get the pawns off. And white does that. Now, one of the dangers with this line is that it allows the pawns more pawns to come off, and as long as pawns are coming off, black's getting closer to that draw. So white could have considered, instead of taking on a6, trying to hold on to that pawn on g3. And I'm not saying he could. I'm not going to analyze it. That's for you guys to show. But black's getting closer to his draw. Now, I don't know if d4 is right. What was the hurry? Why not go back to the 7th rank again? Rook g2 with the idea of rook f2. What's wrong with that? Right? Okay. So now we try to get another pawn off the board, and so does black. And then I don't know what's wrong with rook from g to a3 here. Looks reasonable. And then if white plays rook a1, you just back the rook up on a3 to a4 and hold on to your pawn. See, it's probably a draw. Anyway, black's playing quick. And let's see. Even before I get to, okay, black does take on A2. Before I get to that, there's one thing I wanted to mention. There's a game, I can't remember who he played, but Paul Carey's had the the defensive side of this formation, where you have a queen rook and a queen bishop pawn and a rook against a king and a rook. And the game is found, there's a collection of his games by Fred Reinfeldt. Most of you have a copy of it. If you've been around the game for a while, you can find it in the library. It's available. Carey's, I've read this back when I was a teenager, and I know I have a copy of it somewhere put away in storage, but Carey's defended this position, and it's in the endgame manuals how to do it, how to defend it, but some people don't even know how to defend it, and there's ways to get a draw from this endgame, and it's worth study. It's rare, but here it could come up in this, and I've seen it pop up a few times. I remember visiting the U.S. Open in 2003. Was in Los Angeles. My old friend Larry Christensen grandmaster, was playing a woman's FIDE master somewhere around round 8 or 9. I don't remember exactly where, and he got the black side of this, and defensive rook against those split pawns, and he wasn't able to hold it. She won, and I don't remember if he just blundered it away or what happened, but sometimes even a grandmaster doesn't know how to defend these. Anyway, let's go on. But it's still, I'm not entirely convinced that white's winning. It still could be a draw, but both sides are still going kind of quick. And the way white's played it, he could have cut the king off on one more file by getting the rook to f1 in different lines. I've neglected to mention that, but instead he cuts it off with the king file. And then this is a perfect position to look up in the book. If I had this position as black over the board, well, I honestly say I don't know the exact evaluation of this right off the top of my head, but I could sit down and figure it out. I'll take my time on the clock and find the right choice and just recall back what I read. But it wouldn't surprise me if black isn't drawing this, but you got to prove it, and unfortunately, black doesn't prove it. He just gets into a lost game, and here white calculates that if he trades rooks, this is a perfect time to do it. Black can't get the opposition and hold. So unfortunately for black, the game ends very quickly here. It doesn't matter how black plays it, he's going to lose. Okay, so I went over for the first time. I don't really want to make a 22-minute video because of the lag. I feel I have to give something back. I can make over 15-minute videos. My purpose for keeping them there is just to keep it fair to all players. But this was a game that was very interesting because there's plenty of food for thought here, plenty of ways for both sides to improve their play. White definitely had the chances earlier, then black certainly had some chances to win, and then the game was basically a draw until white finally broke through and won. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the game. I want to thank everyone for their time, and I look forward to any and all comments this game generates. Take care.